So the first thing that I want to talk about is the stream option. So I'm just going to bring up another tab, and you should be seeing my Google Classroom tab here in a little bit with all my classes on it. If you do not, shoot me a chat and I will make sure you guys can see that. But this is an example of what not to do. And I'm guessing you guys are so experienced at using Google Classroom that this is not something that you guys do. The teacher in this class, this is an example that a teacher made of what not to do. They put everything in the stream. That is not the way class is supposed to be conducted. And I only bring this up because I had parents, students who had our direct contact information to ask questions with, contacted me and said, the teacher says I keep missing assignments, but I don't see them. And when I go into my classwork, nothing's there. And so then I started to figure out that the teachers were teaching directly into the stream. Now, when you teach directly in the stream, that would be like me telling you to go to your Facebook and find a specific post from a friend that you read last week. It's there, but good luck finding it. If you can't remember the friend, if you can't remember topic of the post and the way that Facebook aggregates everything, it could be lost forever. So basically, this is not what you do. You put everything in your classroom and not in your stream. The stream is primarily used for the announcements or telling them something that is not related to their homework, to their classwork, to their materials. If you're giving them a link to something that is important to that assignment, you put it in classwork. You do not put it in the stream. The stream is that nonchalant conversational stuff. When you do get into your classroom, you want to organize things with your topics. I always see it in two different levels. So if I'm organizing my classroom, there it is. If I'm organizing my classroom, I'm going to decide what makes sense for my curriculum based on which topics I should have. So these big headers, those are your topics, and you should be creating this outline or this structure of things based on how you enjoy teaching. So I probably would do, since I'm very tink, 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 check off my list kind of person, I would probably do it week 1, week 2, week 3, or I would even put dates, June 8th to June 12th, whatever this week is. And you would organize it based on that. You could also do it by units. You could do it by lesson name and or themes. So you could do it logically like that. Now, after I organize my topics, these big headings, then within the class, I organize my stuff based on the line that I want them to go in. And all of this is based on my personality. Now, this is a real teacher, real course, and she's chosen to have all morning messages. And so she's put June 4th, June 5th, she's put them in that order of when they're supposed to be done. Then she has all the readings and all the video reflection and all the assignments. And she has those labeled that way. That's the way she chooses to organize those. And it's just to show you a different perspective of things. Now, in the classes that I teach normally with students, and this is not one of them, I will put a materials list at the top of things that are always going to stay there. And then I'll have a start here for the first week of class where they go through some basic information to understand how the course is going to go. And then I will have in week 1, it'll start with either but it's consistently starting all the time. I would start with a video and a document attached to that. So I have a video that says, hey, this is what we're going to do this week. This is the link. These are the links we're going to go to. Just kind of give them a brief overview. And the last time I taught students and did that, they were confused because I gave them everything, like, this is what we're going to do. These are the links. And then I continued with those things below, and that confused them at first. But afterwards, they're like, oh, I consistently get it. I'm going to watch a video. You're going to tell me everything we're doing this week. Then you're going to ask me a question to get me think. They didn't think this, but to get them thinking about that topic. Then we're going to have either a Google group where we're going to discuss it, or a Google Doc where we're going to discuss it. So like they're collaborating their ideas in some way, all of them together. And then the next one is they're going to start the work towards the final step of an assessment of sorts. So they're going to go to these links. So they have these materials. They're going to complete this practice exercise. They're going to play this game on a website. And all those materials are building up to that final thing, which is an assessment, a test of their ability to complete the things that I've asked them to learn, or to know the things that I've asked them to learn. And then the very last thing may be a video, a concluding video that says, hey, great job. You've completed all the things for this week. If you've done this, this, and this. And in my blended learning series, which I'll release that information to Tim at some point, where we have a YouTube channel out there that has several playlists in it, but the blended learning series explains that you're very obvious and very transparent. I think that's a good thing to do even when you're not teaching students. If you're just living in the world, I think you need to be very transparent and obvious about your expectations for things if you want to get results from those needs or those wants. How can you expect to get what you expect if you don't tell them what you expect? So you need to really be obvious about those things. So the beating of the, here's what we're doing this week, do those things. Hey, you did all those things that week. Don't forget you were supposed to turn in assignment number 23, and make sure you submitted your stuff for your discussion or whatever I've asked you to do in those things. So it's this way of checking up on and checking off the things you need to get finished. So yeah, you need to present those in this structured framework that works for you, works for materials, and consistently helps the students understand what your expectations are through that. Now these next couple of, I've never taught on these in the organization of your classroom thing. These are kind of like hidden little things that I thought would be really cool to add to your classroom. So I'm going to go back to this teacher's classroom. And in Google Classroom already, we know that this is a material, but what is that material? Because down here we have a material and it's a different thing, and we have a material down here and it's a different thing, and oh, this is a material, this is an assignment, this is a, so we know that these icons mean something, but there's two things that I think you should add to the entry. One, you should add an emoji or a picture or a graphical way of determining that, and it's going to consistently be used throughout. So if it's an assignment, you can always use a pencil. If it's going to be a video, you can use a camera. If it's going to be a reading, you can use a book. If it's going to be a collaborative work, you can have a circle of kids holding hands, whatever icon that you want to choose there. But it's really simple to do those icons. I'm just going to double check and make sure y'all are still with me there. I can see it's hard not seeing y'all. There we go. It's easy for me because I'm on a Mac, but I've given you in that Google slide a link to the emoji what is it called here? The, let me go back to my cheat sheet here. Emoji keyboard. So if I open that Chrome browser, you should see right now my emoji keyboard with the little heart. Nod your head if you guys can see that. Good, thank you. So I've already added it to my Chrome. It's right here, it's the heart. So if you guys do click on that link and add it, now when I'm on any page, I can click on that and hit copy, and then I just paste it wherever I am. So you can use that. You also can use the, right here it is. No, I must have closed that one out. There is a thing that's called Emojipedia. I closed that out. Emojipedia. And on Emojipedia, you can find any of the emojis associated with these categories. And then all you have to do, it actually gets you could get lost in this black hole of crazy. But let's say I want, use the cold face. You're like, oh, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to, you can just go up here and click on this one and hit copy. And then you'll paste it wherever you're needing it. So those are the two ways you can do it if you're not on a Mac. There might be some quick way of Microsoft, but I have not found it in my search. But when I'm in my classroom, I'm going to edit this entry. And I already copied the one, so I'm going to paste that one and see what's up. There we go. So we got a chilly face. But I also can, let's try this one, see how well that goes. Do the sleepy guy. And he types automatically in there. And then I can also do Command Control Space on a Mac, and it brings up the emoji. So I can click on it, it'll put it there. So why am I showing you emojis? And this is serious stuff, Tanya. We're teaching kids on Classroom. We don't need to be doing emojis and stuff like that. The graphical way of seeing that assignment helps the students, whether they know it or not, visually determine what that is. So they always know that this is an assignment, this is something they're gonna have to turn in, this is something they're gonna write on, this is something they're gonna view, this is an audio file. And you'll find the emojis or the icons or the graphical symbolism for that thing, but be consistent. So if it's always an assignment, always use that symbol. If it's always a video, always use that symbol. And you can probably save those in a nice little place that you can just copy and paste every time. And the other thing besides using the emojis to determine what that classification of that thing is on your Google Classroom, also number it. So if you number it, then the students know where they are in their series of expectations assignment-wise. So if they know, and this next part is going to help us understand that a little bit better, if they already know they're going to complete 25 assignments, I know that's ridiculous that I would say that, but let's say the quarter, they're only going to turn in, they're going to complete 4 tests, and they're going to complete 25 assignments and 6 projects. So you would name them that way with a number. So number 1 test, number 2 test, number 3, whatever you're calling it. Number 1 assignment, number 2 assignment. And those are all the things that you're going to be taking grades on. Okay, so also within my blended course, before we do whatever the heck we're going to do in the fall, whenever that's announced, whatever we decide. One, this is a great idea for doing this if it's just face-to-face, we go back to what we were doing before. We also know that these tools are amazing and they help simplify some things for us. Before, when we were 100% online, we gave the students videos. Why can't we use videos when we're face-to-face as well? Not just because that kid was absent, maybe because that kid was absent, but also maybe a reteaching moment. Maybe we want the students to be able to watch that video over and over again. while we're teaching that thing in class face to face, also put it up in your Google Classroom that allows them to see that resource over and over again while they're at home doing whatever they're doing, homework, assignment, whichever structure you decide to do. But also in a blended environment or whatever the heck happens, that's also a benefit to organizing your content. And one of the things that I think we should start with, and maybe you guys already do this, I didn't. I haven't been in the classroom with students in a normal way, a consistent way, for about 18 years. But I'm like, why didn't I? I had all my plans. Why didn't I build a syllabus for those kids? Even K6, you know, I know I'm talking to what, 3.5 now or 3.6. That I think is an important thing to do. I think it's more fun with the younger students too, because when we think of syllabus, especially when we went to college, we think of this very long, awful textual document that it just tells us everything we're gonna do. But it also was our lifeline. It was our way of being like, oh, whew, we're almost done. We're almost done getting through this stuff. Check it off my list. It stated, if it was a well done syllabus, it stated the expectations of the instructor, and it also stated what we needed to do to get the thing that we wanted. If you want an A, this is what you're going to need to do. If you want to complete 100% of your assignments, this is how it's going to go. So the syllabus is this way of pacing the students emotionally, mentally, but also physically, allowing them to choose, or not choose, but go through this thing and do what they want as they at that pace. Now, how you release that is up to you, because what also brings up in a student pacing guide is you could have this course written. Let's say we go 100% online the rest of our lives in education. I almost don't want to switch back to the screen that has your faces on it. But if we were 100% online all the time, there are benefits to allowing that pace to go at whatever pace the students want to go. If they want to move ahead, you know, get week 1 done, get week 2 done, they're done with all the entire course in the first 2 weeks. Sometimes that is allowable in a college course. But also you want to look at a mastery perspective of that. So if your expectations of that first week's assignment, this student gets through at a faster pace than this student because this student mastered it, but this student's behind, that causes a problem, you know, with us in the class, because we're like, oh, we have 10 students who are here, 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 and here, and then we have these students who are still back here, and we're already introducing another lesson to these other students who have mastered that. And that is a blended way or learning design, instructional design of how to teach a blended environment. So if people are going to keep using the word blended, that is an option. Not saying that that's something that you would do, but a pacing guide allows you to do that. And it would be fun in the elementary level because you could make it icons or a storyboard or cartoonish, and then you could have the assignments that are listed with it where you're creating this documentation of this is this date to this date, and these are the things that we're going to do. And then that interprets over to your Google Classroom in that same manner. So everything is organized and there's no room for debate or no room for question. I review courses for Quality Matters, and actually I did a lot over this time because there were a lot of, they call them publishers. It's the sites that you guys have to pay for that have those built courses. And I looked at this one course that I had to review and I was like, what? I thought I was going insane. Like I didn't understand education anymore. And there's other people that are reviewing it at the same time. And finally, I just emailed her and I said, what is going on with this course? Because the syllabus said this, but the course said this. And then there was this standard and this expectation. And it was one of those horrific syllabi because you're looking and it's all textual and it's all these things you have to read and go through and decipher. It didn't interpret the same way as it did online. And that's the thing. Everything needs to be across the board connected and communicate the same idea. So if you have the syllabus built for your course, then you transfer that information over here to Google Classroom in the same structure, that is going to help with organizing your class, helping the students understand your expectations and what you want them to do. And like I said before, you want to number those assignments on your Google Classroom. Those want to consistently be the same numbers that you have in your syllabus. And then you tell them exactly what your expectations are. Those are standards. What are the standards at which you want me to complete these? You might have a rubric, but all of that stuff is included in there either via link or via physically. That documentation is in there. And all of this also can be used to be built through Google Tools. You could have it in a Google document, you could have it in a spreadsheet, but all of these things could be organized so that they have their expectations right in virtual land or virtual hand. You also, at this time, when building that syllabus, you want to have either a separate document or a supplemental document that states, what are my boundaries? What are my expectations? Because the one thing that I saw teachers do during this time was work way too hard, too long and hard. You guys put a lot of effort into this thing that we didn't really know what was going on, what we were going to do, or how are we going to do it, and how we were going to collaborate. They're calling it, I think, emergency teaching, because they're saying now emergency teaching versus blended learning or remote learning, or so this emergency teaching that you guys were doing, we didn't state our expectations and our boundaries, which again is something healthy to do in our real lives. We need to say, all right, my office hours are 8 till 4 or whatever the district requires of you. And from 8 to 4 every day, you can expect me to be available via Google Groups or via email or comments in the classroom. I will be available for that. But after that, you can expect an answer to my email after 24 hours of your submission. You can expect feedback from an assignment to be graded every Friday or every Sunday night by midnight, or whatever you want to state. Then the other things that go along with that stated structure, expectations, boundaries, is whatever this district consistently believes you guys should do. Okay. And that's the part that you should be relieved. You should be relieved when the administrators say, this is what you're going to do. And you'd be like, whew, all right, I'm going to do that, because that takes the load off of you. That takes the, when a parent complains or whatever, you'd be like, this is what we're consistently doing as a department, as a district. And also, people are already talking about, if we don't do this the same way so-and-so does down the street, if that district does things differently, then, this could be an issue. So everybody's even trying to coordinate their ideals. How are we going to teach online? Are we going to teach online? How are we going to continue this? But also, what are the rules going to be associated with that? Because that's going to make a difference. They're going to say, oh, Paulding's doing it this way, Antwerp's doing it this way. Why is Wayne Trace doing it this way? So I think there's also that alignment piece going on within counties and touching districts. So you want to make sure that you state those things and make it as transparent as possible, letting the letting the parents and students know what your expectations are, and this is how you're going to complete it. We don't want it to be an equation for them to figure out how to do well on our class online. We want them to learn, and we want them to do well. We want them to succeed. We don't want them to fail. Okay? And I say that because I've heard the opposite from some educators, never from Wayne Trace ever. I'm not being sarcastic either. I've never heard that from Wayne Trace teachers. So the next thing that I'm going to talk about, you should have a demo student that you use in your classroom. And Jo Allen was in the first session, so maybe she's already kind of thinking about that. I've been giving demo students to teachers because our domains talk to each other. So if you need a practice student to be able to look at the course to see the way it looks, it's really nice that I'm a student within this class of another teacher shared this with me, and she made me a student. So it's nice that I can see what it looks like when when I go to the classwork. Okay, and hopefully you guys can still see my classwork page, and I'm on my home page there, the stream and so on. Okay, so are there any questions up to this point? I'm sorry, I'll keep rambling if I don't stop and ask you guys if you're okay. Anyone have any questions? Okay, thank you for the nods. Thank you, appreciate it. And if you do, that's all cool. We can stop and I can go a different direction if you need to. Let me see here.
I had a quick question about the classwork and the streaming.
Yes.
So I labeled everything in my Google Classroom under classwork with week 1, week 2, and I did all of that organized, but it seemed like, I don't know if my students didn't know to go to the classwork tab. It looked like they did the streaming and some of them answered some things and not others. Is that a possibility, or does when I put it in classwork, it only goes under the classwork tab?
So there's two things there. You are doing it correctly. What you could do, and I'm not saying this is any error on your part, because if this is the first time that they've used Google Classroom, that could be the first thing that they're, oh, the stream, why isn't there anything in the stream? Yay, I don't have any homework. But they should be able to see on the stream upcoming, like right here on the left-hand side. And then also, if they hit view all, then it shows them everything that they're either missing or have to do. If you do not put it on classwork, though, it will never show up on their upcoming or to-do list. And that's basically what this is the to-do list. But also within your teacher course, when I move down, you should see my settings for my class. If you go to your settings, classwork on the stream, show condensed notifications, hide notifications, show attachments and details. So whatever you put on the classwork page will also reveal itself or notify the students on the stream page. I don't like to have the extended version. I always like to show the condensed version. And in fact, sometimes I hide it, but for the most part, you probably want to reveal that for your students so that they can see upcoming things that are expected to be completed. But also from the student's perspective, like I said, they'll see this upcoming, but also on classwork, we need to keep them in the habit of view your work. If I click on view my work, then I can see specifically and click on the things that need to be done. This was an exact question from a student while these last couple weeks. A parent actually brought it to my attention. She said he kept having missing assignments and we didn't understand why. Well, the teacher had put everything in the stream and nothing in the classwork. So two things happen when you put it in the stream. It doesn't give you the to-do list. It doesn't give you the view all work that's given to you, but it also doesn't put it in the calendar that is designated for that course. So you need to let the students know that when they are involved in a class, if they want to know calendar-wise, schedule-wise, what's expected to be completed via a calendar, and let me turn off my calendar. I'll keep those other ones on. But right here, it shows that I have an assignment and an assignment. Let me move to the next week. It shows that I have an assignment on Friday. I have a quiz, actually. So there's that icon that tells me I have a quiz. And we just need to make sure that the students understand that from their perspective, that there's many places that you can see what's going on. View your work. Everything's going to be in the classwork. I can even give them a video and email it to them and give them a little tutorial of how to navigate classwork from a student perspective. And then also let them know that Google Calendar is there to help them understand that. But we've heard that a lot where the students don't go to the right place because they're not as familiar with it. And then if I don't see it here, it's easy for me to just say I'm done for the day, my homework's done. Yeah, thanks, Kelly. Kelly said students also receive a message in Gmail that they have a new assignment. Now, do your students utilize the Gmail or Google Mail? Are they connected to Google Mail?
Sorry, yes, they are.
Okay, so if they are, there's some districts that don't allow, certain grade levels to have a Google Mail account. So that's awesome. So if also in your expectations in your syllabus, you can say you should check your email on Monday, you should check your email on whatever, or every day. You should, and maybe even have a check-in in your class structure. So in my class structure, at the end of this lesson, this whatever, you can say, now give me feedback in Flipgrid, or give me feedback in this audio thing. Record back to me what you've done. Give me a repeat, or tell me in your words what you did this week. And I know that's another thing, but it's also a fun tool to be able to say, them sitting there recording themselves saying, all the stuff that I did this week is I read this thing and then I turned in that one thing. And then you'll have a audio visual of the things that you hope that they had done. But yeah, you can say email. I do that with the kids that work for me. I'll say, every Friday you need to email me and tell me everything that you've done. It's grueling and it's terrible for them, but it also is a great way to check accountability for me and for them. So whatever that thing is, you need to create that they can be able to show what they've completed. Yeah. So, and maybe even on the stream, that's an assignment. You could even put a video on your stream that says, watch this. That when they watch it, it'll say, hey, go over to classwork. That's where you guys should be. That's where you're going to see the stuff. That's, these are the expectations. Maybe your introductory video starts out being on the stream. The students go in there. It also could be emailed to them. And then now, as soon as a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks into it, they know that they go to classwork and they know the structure of your assignments, your materials, and so on. Thank you for bringing that up. Great questions. And it does help to have that demo student to be able to see exactly what they see. I've explored in that it's kind of difficult to log in, log out, but I put one of the student accounts in incognito mode, and I'll flip back and forth between those windows. As I build my course, I will put something in the course, and then I'll go and look at it from the student's perspective. And I'll look at it periodically throughout the week to see the to-do and the view your work kind of thing. The other thing that I want to share with you is there's, let me see if she has it in here. So this teacher, nope, she didn't share it with me. Make me a co-teacher, and I'll show you guys that as well. The way that you can efficiently manage your classrooms, you would have to have a template course. Now, this teacher calls hers a file cabinet. So she has a course that she keeps everything in, and it is legitimately the course that she's going to teach. And then she has her other courses that so the 4th grade reading. So when it comes time to add something, she's going to go to create, and then she's going to reuse post and pull it from that class. So when she's done with week 1, week 2, week 3, she deletes week 1 from her course, and then she pulls it from the file cabinet. So all of those resources are always in your file cabinet, always in your template course, always in your fake course, the course that no students are in. And her real course where the students are, she's going to reuse that post and pull it in. So she pulls it in. Now they engage with that thing. She deletes it and then pulls the next one in. But she always keeps her materials at the top. So anything that she wants the students to use over and over and over again, that's consistently in her course. If it's a link, if it's a syllabus, if it's resources that the kids are continually referencing, then you have that up at the top, and it's called materials, stuff you use all the time, whatever you want to name it. Then they know that they go there that way. But that is a great technique to kind of start implementing with your class. Having that template class, and then that template class never gets touched, never gets messed around with by students, and then you just can keep grabbing from that. So I think it's important to even bring this up at this point, the co-teaching. So if I have a file cabinet, if I have all my resources in that no student class, in that fake class, in that template class, I can add multiple teachers to that class, and then they can pull materials from that course as well, and reuse those posts. The other thing that kind of arose very quickly in this remote learning online environment was one, how to teach my class by myself. Well, you don't have to. You can have a co-teacher in there, so you guys can have all your materials in there and collaborate on those and contribute. For instance, in the last session that I had with PK2, one of the teachers said that this teacher does really well reading stories to the students, and the students really love it. So we had her record the stories. And then I made this up, but then this person does really well with the science lesson or has a really great idea. And so we're all co-teaching this class and pushing in the information that we all are strong at. So you're using everybody's strengths to build that course. So that's one way of using a co-teacher, to be able to collaborate on information. The other way is if you have the students who have need modifications based on IEPs. How do I train them online? Because if we are face-to-face, this is what happens. If we're online, what do we do? What thing? What's the, and so I've had several virtual meetings with, general ed and, the integration specialist, about how do you manage that. So the way you could do that is, one, teach with groups. So if I have this assignment and I have all students in here, but maybe I only want to assign it to these 13, then you have the co-teacher and you create this other assignment that's only assigned to these kids. So you're differentiating that instruction. It could be differentiating because your mastery and these students need to be working on this type of information, or this is the assignment. This is just the assignment I was going to give. And then the integration specialist is going to come in and intervene with that and modify it in a way that needs to, per student, per group of students, however that needs to be. Then the other way I suggested, and I think this was the one that kind of took over because it gets messy from the teacher view. So if I have this assignment, and this assignment, I see all of them, but the students only see what's appropriate for them to complete. So I suggested co-teach this one, but reuse the post from that teacher and then make your modifications over in your own course with only those students. So if I'm modifying things or mastering or differentiating things for these students, have them in my course. They're only part of my course, not this course. And then I pull over the stuff from that teacher and utilize it, and vice versa. So you kind of share things from course to course. But the way that starts is you go to people and you add that co-teacher to your course to be able to collaborate with content and instruction. The guardian emails in people is another way that you can create accountability with your students. If I have the parents' email addresses, and you will need those, you hit invite guardian and you just type their name or their email in. I would type their email in just to be more specific. If you type their name in, it has to be someone that you've emailed regularly or in your contacts. So type in their email, Then you invite them. When that parent gets invited, they'll have an option of choosing how they want to see reports. Do they want it to be weekly, bi-monthly, monthly? How do they want to see those reports? And then the reports that they see are going to be are going to look like this. And this brings up another question from the elementary perspective of, do I have multiple classes based on the content I teach? Or is that how I develop my topics? Do I have math and then everything is kind of broken down in those into that topic? Or do I have a class for math, a class for English, a class for science? How do I break that up? And that's a personal preference. I would choose, and I'm not an elementary, I'm secondary education. Even with like English 9, I would have English 9 period 1, English 9 period 3. I would have separate classes for that. And that makes sense. I get it, because I have 100 and some kids that I'm trying to navigate with those courses. So different periods. But in an elementary environment, you have, 25, 30 some kids, and you can put those all in a class, but how are you going to organize the content so it doesn't get confusing or messed up in from the perspective of the students? So if I were on the elementary level, I would have third grade reading, third grade science, separate courses, and maybe my file cabinet course would be one course with all the stuff broken down into math, English, science, social studies, however I wanted to have it there. But again, that is the way you have to navigate things in your courses. But it all has to be consistently structured so that the students understand what's going to be expected from week to week, because it's going to be that consistent. And you can switch tools up and still have that consistent structure. But make sure that organization makes sense to the way you teach. Make sure it makes sense to the way you teach face-to-face, because all of that stuff needs to connect and work together based on how you do it face-to-face. That's familiar with them, so it needs to continue to be familiar with them as well. Okay, so any questions so far? No? Okay. I have one last thing that I'm going to show you, and then you guys can chat with me or you can ask questions. Hopefully you still can see my screen. Right now you should see something that says student work. Okay, good. Made a mistake once where I was teaching for 5 minutes and didn't know that they couldn't see my screen. So I just want to make sure you can see that. The last thing that I want to show you is that, and this is for face-to-face and for or online. I'll just Google something crazy. So let's say that I want to share something with my students and we're face-to-face. I know some of this doesn't make sense. Let's see here. Maybe I want to do this. Okay, so storyline, outline. I'm not saying use this tool. I'm saying this way of sharing things with your students. There is an extension called Share to Classroom. So if you go to the Chrome Web Store, and you can just Google Chrome Web Store and then search for Share to Classroom, this app should come up. It's an extension, and I called it an app, I'm sorry, but it'll have this Add to Chrome next to it. And after you install it, it will pop up here next to your icon. Now, this is something that you use. It can be used from the student's perspective as well. They can push things back to you. So think of this as live and not live, or building lessons. So those are the three things that I consider. So let's say I'm on this web page and I want to send it to the students. I did introduce this in the professional development that I did face-to-face with you guys at the beginning of this last school year. I shared it with Info Ohio resources, because some of the Info Ohio resources already have that icon of send a classroom or share to classroom. The thing up here allows me to do it anywhere. The other day we were using Flipgrid, and Flipgrid can be sent directly to your classroom, pushed out to the students in an assignment or in a material. So if I'm on this page and I'm face-to-face, my students are right there. They're in the classroom with me, and they have their Chromebooks open, and they're in, they don't even have to be in my classroom. I can click on this share to classroom extension, brings up all of my classes, and then I can go to Wayne Trace. Okay, that's the class that I'm going to send out the thing. Whoops. And I can do all of these. I can push to students. So you're right there. I want to send you to this link. Push to students. And as soon as I hit push, it brings it up on their Chromebook. Bloop, right there it is. The students have those links. I don't have to, paste a link in Google Classroom. That's too many steps for us. I can just push that link, whatever it may be, anything, web page. I can push it out to them, and it'll send it to their laptop. Now, the older laptops, it used to bring up a pop-up button. It would say your teacher is sharing something with you, and they click on it, and they bring it up. The newer ones, which I believe are what you guys have, they would, it just pops up on the screen for them. So you might want to test that with the devices that you have. The other thing that you can do, let's say I'm not face-to-face. I'm just building my lesson. I'm building my content. So I can hit create lesson, and I want to, or create assignment, and I can do that for this class. And then I'm going to hit, yep, I want to create an assignment, go, and it brings all the information up here. So I'm not going to Classroom. I'm not copy and pasting the link. All I have to do is put in the title, reading online resources, read all of these, and then it puts the link in there for me. It's an assignment. Of course, I'll give them better directions. And then which topic do I want it to be under? Create a topic, and I'm going to put it under reading assignments. However, I have things organized. And then as soon as I decide, or it's done, and I decide I want to assign, schedule, save, draft, or discard, I'm just going to assign it. It's going to push it right out to that class as an assignment. And you can do the same thing with ask question. You can also make an announcement and push it out there. If you're using YouTube to do some of your instruction, like you're recording it in whatever tool and then uploading it to a YouTube channel, you could create a material, push it out to the students that's your YouTube channel that has that video that's explaining that thing that you want them to understand. So I just think that's a very helpful tool to use from the teacher perspective and from the student perspective when you're face-to-face. So if I go in here, I'm going to go to push. Oh, it already did that one. Push. Then I have these other two things down at the bottom, pushed to students, so you can see what has been pushed to students. And then you also can see what you've received from students. And I have not received anything from students in this course. I've chosen obviously the wrong one. But I also can open my classroom, and then I can look at the settings for that. How do I want to have notifications? Show browser notifications when students push web pages to me. Help button always is good. And then we also can submit some feedback to Google to give them some suggestions of what to do. So that is share to classroom. I keep saying push, but it's share to classroom. And you basically would just go to Chrome Web Store and then type in that share to classroom, add it to your Chrome, and it'll pop up there. If this is something that you like district-wide, you also could have your tech person push it out to all Chromebooks or out to all devices that use Chrome browser, and then the students would have access to it as well. Let me double check my notes, but I'm sure that's all I have. Yes, that's all I have. Let me stop sharing and then stare back at you guys and see what questions you guys might have. So that's all I got. That's all I did a lot of research and trying to find some new techniques for you guys. Are there any questions or any detours that you want to take us on and say, oh, I've used this works? Any suggestions? Everybody okay? Has anybody checked your pulse lately? Are you guys doing all right?
Is there any way to know when they have submitted their assignment without going into classwork and checking it every time?
Yeah, and it may not be annoying to you, but I've joined a couple classes and let me share again. You turn on the notifications for that, and since I have two screens, it's iffy what's going to pop up here. Okay, so in my class, you can either do it in your gear for notifications here, but I'm going to show you a better way here in a little bit. I guess it's not in there anymore. Classwork, stream, Guardians. Nope, it's not. I lied to you. I apologize. We don't even know each other that well, and I lied to you. The settings down here on your Big Mac, notifications. And if I turn those on, you see I turned them off. But if it's something I really, really want to see, like if it's a Google form, I turn on the notifications for a Google form. And that's in the Google form app. But right here, comments on your post, you probably want to turn that off, maybe turn it on. But you can specify each thing that you want to get notified via email for. And then I've also turned on before textual, but I control my own domain. So I can have it be sent as a text to me. That may not be something that is possible with your domain. So that is the way that you turn on notifications. You just have to pick and choose which ones you want to notify you with. If all of these happen and you have 30, 40 kids that are in your classroom, this could become overwhelming. Also, if you have 4 classes or 5 different classes and the students are submitting things, but it'll notify you for these specific things.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Also, you might want to point out to the students that, well, maybe not, because the students get the same notifications. That's the thing. So the question that we had earlier with student didn't know something was due, unless you had the entire course done, as soon as you put something in classwork, the student gets a notification and actually notifies them. The other day when I was a part of this teacher's class, I was like, good Lord, I had like 50 emails because assignment, you've been assigned something, you have an assignment, this is due, this is due. So that's why I went in and I turned off all my notifications, because I was getting hundreds of emails a day based on my classroom work. So sometimes I tell students, turn off the notifications, but maybe you want to make sure that those notifications are turned on for your students so that they know what's going on.